Welcome to this live stream. It's the first of its kind. We have Tim White here, who I originally met at Davos, and we had some really thought-provoking, eye-opening conversations. So we wanted to bring it to LinkedIn, YouTube live streams, just to dive into what the future looks like, the future we're imagining, and also get into some of those tough questions about AI, what's coming up, where we're seeing it be useful, but also possibly hindering. I hope you like our squiggly intro page here. We're going to dive into it shortly. Before we kick things off, I also wanted to share a quick update while we're letting folks trickle in, which is that we are actually, okay, let's see if this works. So we are actually hosting, okay, we're hosting a event later today. I'm going to get that working, where we're going to be essentially having a job fair with recruiters and job seekers to, not in a traditional sense, have like employers have booths and candidates give their resumes, but just like facilitate organic conversations, because that's how we think true connection is made, and that's how we think hiring happens as well, is through those organic interactions and connections. So that's happening later today at 3 p.m. So if you are in the San Francisco area, come through the event. It's hosted at the SVB building on the rooftop. Now it's going to work. And so I'll just share, like, this is what the rooftop looks like. We're excited to have y'all. And we also have an event coming up in Charlotte next month. So we have two big kind of employer job seeker events because we really want to bring the community together. And yeah, also invite champions from organizations that are, ADHD, autistic, dyslexic, have a disability, that are in leadership positions, that are also creating pathways into the workforce from these companies. So we want to kind of go on a little roadshow. And Tim has been someone who I have been brainstorming with around how to make that possible, especially with his ventures. So Tim, why don't you share a little bit about yourself and your company as well?
Of course. Hi, I'm Tim. I am currently based in Boston. I came to SF, I guess, 2 weeks ago. That was the first time leaving Boston, going to the West Coast in my life. I appreciate you hosting me there. That was wonderful. I am a student here in Boston, and I'm building a venture out of the Innovation Lab here at Harvard. And the focus of our venture is really AI literacy. So last year, I kind of found that there was a big disconnect on what people understood about AI and what AI really is. And I wanted to dig deeper into understanding why that disconnect exists. So, kind of just had a ton of discovery, spoke to a lot of people in universities who were trying to teach this AI and how is it that we now operate in this new world where emerging technology is advancing so quickly. And at that time, I uncovered that the systems are now changing, where now the way things used to be, they aren't the way they used to be, simply because the emerging technologies that are currently, developing daily are changing the way that humans operate on Earth, simply. So that kind of showed me a gap in helping people become more AI literate. I think I have this sort of idea in my brain where I think like universities and the systematic way the universities work is changing completely. And the universities themselves are not just trying to educate their students on the topics that the students are going to school for, but helping them to understand how is it that they utilize AI properly so that the uh, topic they need to learn can be used and learned in the most efficient way. So learned that last year, and that sort of opened up a opportunity for me to launch my venture focused on AI literacy for executives.
That's so fascinating because I know there's a lot of pushback from schools that are seeing students cheat on exams and kind of find shortcuts and plagiarize a lot from chat or, similar types of AI models. And yeah, it's creating a lot of questioning from like professors and schools and academia around, like, do we either integrate AI into our curricula, or do we, get rid of it entirely so students are self-reliant. Do you have any perspectives on that or hot takes?
Yes, of course. I spent the majority of 2025 speaking to people in this I guess ecosystem of higher education. Um, I guess there are three main things that I've found that the central administration is trying their best to balance what's happening inside of the universities, and then we see that there's the faculty who are divided. Some think, okay, no AI, no Wi-Fi on campus at all. Some think AI is here, we have to at least do something to deal with it. And then because of that, some of the staff are underserved. So that's causing this divide within the university ecosystem. And because that divide exists, there's no clear roadmap or pathway toward becoming AI literate. So there's no like courses or I guess tracks that exist yet because it's an emerging technology that's becoming more prominent. Not to say that any universities aren't doing things about it, but it's just you know big organization a lot of the times, and it's not easy to move the needle forward when not everyone's on the same page. So I felt that during this discovery, the students who were in these opportunities or trying their best to get a degree, but also independently working toward upskilling themselves were the ones who got the most benefit from what kind of outcome could come from the university structure that they were so used to. So it's like the university structure we've relied on for so long. Not that it's not working. It's just that as AI is evolving, enterprises are also trying to catch up, but universities themselves are in the same situation where there's that divide that exists within the universities, and it causes the students to have to look for these pathways and sort of carve their own path toward becoming AI literate. And that's where I feel like people like yourself are trying to step in and like have these external resources available to sort of aid in what some of the university offerings may have.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, just from the Bay Area, there's so many different like hackathons happening almost every day now where people are building projects, using Claude Code, using all of these models to come up with like new and innovative ways to solve problems, right? And it's fascinating because I can start to see this like this emerging group of talent that is just moving so fast, being able to solve problems so quickly, right? And it's like, oh, I saw someone say, oh, I wish that when the Claude Code finished generating, it would send me a ping. And in 2 minutes, the other guy's like, oh yeah, I just built that. So it's like immediate, like latency is so low to deploy a lot of these like features and ideas we have. And so I see this sort of, break like a two different paths emerging. People that are learning these tools and becoming really, expeditious at like generating outcomes, and others that, are self-reliant, which is amazing and we want more of that, though are kind of missing out on the efficiency that could be brought in from AI, right? So yeah, I'm curious, especially with when it comes to people in our community that are looking for jobs, that are um, trying to find their next gig. Like, I'm so curious, what do you think are some of the misconceptions that people have? I mean, you can relate it to the hiring process or in general
Mhm.
about AI. And I see we have someone in the chat who is the anti-AI guy. So um, always open to questions. We want to be pushed back on in a lot of this because it's all about kind of like tackling problems together and figuring out what the ideal output is or solution. But yeah,
Yeah,
Tim,
I mean,
conceptions.
conceptions. Let's see. First of all, humans are still humans. Connection is still connection. I think what's starting to happen is the human connection is becoming stronger because of the fact that a lot of the I guess world is moving in a technological space where they're looking online for lots of different things. I personally think just naturally cultivating character is just a skill set itself that comes through the work that you do outside of just your 9 to 5. Like, whether that be volunteering at your local, uh, nonprofit organization or participating in after school programs and things of that nature. Like I think a lot of the things that help the qualities that make us human are the ones that are going to become more amplified. And also, you stand out very easily in this space where many people are so tech heavy, right? And I think that's the easy difference. I mean, being here in the Cambridge ecosystem, Harvard, MIT, these I guess spaces are filled with all these new innovations and things of that nature. But like because innovations are so, I guess, prominent and are becoming like commodity to a sense, in a sense, like really the values that we have as people have to be sort of amplified, and the people who focus on these values are the ones that I'm seeing see the most success. How do you differentiate yourself? Like, I think that's one of the things. And also, I mean, I guess something else that's interesting is I see a lot of these enterprises. So I work primarily at the enterprise space with executives because I'm taking sort of the top-down approach. My hypothesis is if we can make the executives in these industries more literate, they can understand what's possible and what's not possible, and actually make decisions that aren't just based off of hype that they hear. But what I'm starting to see too is these executives are trying to integrate AI into the enterprise. So because they're trying to integrate this AI, what they do is they work with these AI companies and these startups that are coming out. So even though sometimes you can see job loss is increasing within the big enterprises, but startups are increasing rapidly, exponentially. So that's a brand new, way of operating in the world that we might not have been used to. Maybe like for years we've been used to going to school for 4 years, getting a degree, go to some big Meta or Fortune 1000 company as a big dream. But realistically, like the hype is really moving toward like the hottest new startup that has really cool people that are on the founding team and that are working together on this space. So I think like being able to upskill and open our minds to like these sort of new horizons that are now the realities of the world that we're living in right now is important. And even if people just want to stay in the enterprise space, like no, I want to work for a big company, like there's issues going on where somebody may have a preference in that space. Just finding ways and carving a path for you upskilling yourself, and even sort of having like measurable AI literacy as an employee makes you a lot more valuable within the organization itself. And of course, like the technology is moving so fast, but the world can only move as fast as the people who are actually, creating these guardrails for this technology. So that's why my personal mission is to create this literacy pathway for the ones who are in charge of these organizations that are in mission-driven sectors, like the United Nations or like different nonprofits and things of that nature. Because then naturally, these people who are a force for good, if they become literate, naturally you can start to see more opportunity open in some of the I guess scary parts of the AI ecosystem start to be addressed. It's just I think of course it's a matter of time, but at the same time I don't think people can just sit back and hope for the best, but really have like look for these paths. And there's so many that exist. There's so many opportunities that exist that can be as simple as Googling or opening your LinkedIn to find pathways to upskill, or being a part of communities like yours, like that. I feel is very, very valuable for people who are in this space who, really are looking for what's next.
Yeah, totally. I mean, I think you said a few things. One about human connection, and I do think that this is only going to bring us closer to that. I know there's a bit of a misconception there that we're all going to, there's all these like doomsday, futuristic scenarios. But in my mind, I see us really like, automating things so that while our code is running in the background, we're off going on a hike or connecting with our family, or like it's bringing us closer together because we're automating so many of the things that took hours and weeks to be able to do before. Now you can take a month's work of a large team and bring that down to one person coding on these tools. So it's definitely creating this question of like, do large organizations need a ton of employees now? That's definitely a fear. Though I think you're right, it's shifting towards startups hiring. I mean, there's so many startups that are like raising tons of money and looking for the best talent. And something about people who know how to use AI are also like, seen as like people who are able to use whatever tools they're given to solve problems. And it might be AI, it might be other solutions, but it just shows the sense of like resourcefulness with like, let's learn new things, let's have an open mind to be able to like play with these, tinker with these, and then like get the desired outputs that the startup wants, and then making sure that it's like reviewed by a human too, and like doing that other layer, because I think that's what school will teach us is like, yes, you can use AI to expedite writing papers, but then is it still authentic regardless of AI? And the same question goes for, social media posting and writing captions, and you can easily tell when it's AI versus a human. And so it's going to be even easier for readers to kind of differentiate, and for writers to then put their flair into it. And it, helps with writer's block and so many things when it comes to that piece. So yeah, thanks for sharing. And I love that you're bringing it to the United Nations, you're bringing it to these large organizations and working with executive leaders, because I think for them, they're taken aback a bit. They're like, okay, I see that there's new technology. Is our company going to adopt it? I know a lot of tech companies are like building their own LLMs to make sure it's secure and not cyber threatening. And then it's like, okay, how do we make sure we're getting the same levels of efficiency? And truly, I do believe that if a startup can be as powerful as a corporate with these tools, then like the companies that lag behind are going to honestly like not have a chance in the race. They're just gonna be kind of left behind because you have one person that act as a team of 50, and they're
Mhm.
still like getting LLMs approved. It's just gonna create a bit of a rift. And so I guess our goal and what we're doing with this webinar is, how do we get everyone AI literate so that when the rift happens, which I mean, it's inevitable, like whether we like it or not, there are going to be a group of people that are using these tools. How do we make sure people that are underserved, people with disabilities, people who are neurodivergent are well equipped with the tools needed to be on the side that is going to, be managing the policies of the future? So that's why we're doing talks like this, and why it's important to have these conversations, and also recognize that it's applicable to any field. So it's not just if you're a software engineer, it could be lawyers, it could be accountants, it could be really so many things. Okay, so my next question, Tim, is how do you see organizations using AI today? Like, how have you seen it be deployed, and how can we also measure progress when it comes to AI literacy? So two questions, but tackle as you wish.
Yeah, I mean, I think the way that organizations want to use AI isn't at the point that it's currently being used because it's such a new technology, especially when it comes to big organizations. So actually, let me step back. It really just depends on what type of organization you're talking about. So if we're talking about maybe a startup, of course, there's people using Claude Code and it's doing everything for their whole business. I have, friends and, partners who naturally spend a few hours outside a day just chilling and having fun while their business is being run by AI agents, right? Because they don't really have guardrails, and some of these industries may have less compliance issues and things of that nature. Startups, of course, are very agile, and they're able to sort of operate in a way that allows a lot of flexibility in this, ever changing, in I guess, era. But when you get to the enterprise space, a lot of enterprises, what I'm seeing is they have to focus on pilots in spaces that are safe. So, like some enterprises, for example, might use startups as like internal labs to test something or some capability, no matter what that capability may be, to solve some problem that the company has before it's adopted at the wide scale. Because of course, like there's the change management portion of it where many people have these ideas of what AI can and can't do, and that has to be considered and taken very seriously. And at the same time, there's what is it that we can afford to adopt within our company that is something that won't, hinder compliance or have some, detrimental impact on the life of many. So it's very limited, honestly, like inside of these organizations, what they can do at wide scale. And I can see that, we're still a long way away from many of the technological advancements that currently exist being fully integrated within, especially these large enterprises. But then again, as we mentioned before, that's where the startups come in, and I guess the on the question of AI literacy, I think it's just honestly having a measurable way to benchmark. So, me personally, I'm choosing the chief of staff because I feel that they are a underserved market that really are very impactful in the spaces that they work in for the executive offices. And a lot of these specific, I guess you could say, work profiles, whether they be a director or a VP or whatever title someone might have, um, I think benchmarking starts by understanding where you're actually at. But most people don't even fully see where are they in the space of where they could be. So let's say there's a list of 10 AI topics and you have some sort of system or structure. There's many types of websites and things of that nature that might help you understand these are the three AI topics that I need help with. These are the seven I understand. And on what level do I understand them? And how do I compare to my peer who's in my same space? So beginning to benchmark, really a lot of it comes with these conversations with peers. Of course, there's these tools that are out there that can help you understand sort of like what is an agent. Many people hear the word AI agent, AI chatbot, and AI this and AI that, but of course, it's all this big hype where artificial intelligence has so many different use cases and understanding what it actually is, like making it very simplified breakdown of what the tool or the technology can and can do. I think that's where it all starts, right? I mean, I think of an AI agent as just a uh, action. Honestly, it's just like us as humans can do actions. There's a list of those actions, and an agent can go out and do one or two or three of those actions for you on your behalf. But of course, naturally, AI cannot. It's just we're so far away from AI being able to make any detrimental shifts in how I think humans interact with other humans, simply because like we're in this space where there's actions that we as humans innately have to focus on. Is that we as humans have to, I guess you can say, have a guardrail toward. So I think like it goes right back to understanding your perspective in comparison to the perspective of your peers, understanding where you could be, and really just keeping it basic, keeping it simple, and seeing like what kind of, I guess, perspectives that are helpful for us to, actually work toward increasing where we toward where we want to go.
100%. If there was something you would share with people looking for a job, what would the most important thing be? And also if you want to share some of your background too and how you've like maneuvered the process of finding your own fulfilling life's calling.
I don't know if that's maneuvered yet, but I do love the process as I'm trying to figure it out. I'm currently maneuvering. I don't want to. I'll use the present tense verb instead of the past tense verb. But yes, I think honestly, just like you said earlier, like we've been saying this whole time, like understanding that, like it's I personally don't believe it's the end of the world right now, right? It's like we're in this space where um human connection is becoming stronger. So being around the people who naturally value that connection in these positions that may look like spaces that you would like to operate in just gives you the perspective that you need to make decisions for where your career can go. So if I think I'm I'd like to be a fashion designer and that's my like innate passion and I love art and this is the sort of way I've lived my life for this long, then what does the new world of fashion design look like? Well, I think that starts by putting yourself around the people who are operating actively in that world, and focusing not just on the technology, but really like on what are the pathways and what are different types of perspectives that I could consider. And then of course along the way you start to see what does AI literacy look like for that specific path. Like maybe there's some, like, even what I see from the executive level, executives don't have as much of a use on a day-to-day basis for, I guess, many of the different types of agents that exist that don't have to do with strategy, because many of the times the executives are focused on strategy. So the AI technology that they have to become more literate on are the ones that will help them strategize. But that's why I think it really just starts by starting to have this passion inside that you know exists, putting yourself in these spaces and connecting with other people. And then at that point, you can start to see what pathways might exist. And what, even in my journey, like, I knew that I was passionate about just technology for good. And I had been working, in various different capacities. I guess 7 years ago, sort of made a commitment that I would, like, live my life for service rather than for pleasure or for, my own gratification. So, like, that put me in spaces to be around other people who wanted to do the same types of thing. And it just showed me different pathways and gave me role models, like, naturally, without my, necessary, I guess, mapping out to try and find, to see, like, what pathways might exist and hear about what they're thinking about and seeing the ways that they're looking toward the future. And then seeing those pathways, it landed me in the space of higher ed. And naturally, I see these are the people that are, like, I gravitate the most toward, and I'm understanding what are their needs and seeing their needs,
Mm,
and how is it that I can actually work towards solving their need and talking to people and going and trying stuff and eventually come up with some kind of idea that can become a company, to a point where we can actually launch a thing and do an event. And, like, these types of activities are what I think are just natural involvements or natural evolutions of us as humans. So even though I'm like a AI literacy sort of like advocate, and I love technology and things like that, I genuinely think it's not about the technology in the space that we're working in right now. I think it's helping people to really see it's about human connection. It always has been about human connection. This same sort of perspective that we're having now is in, I guess, a direction that the world is going in, is a very similar to when the internet came out, and no one knew what the internet might be. It seems like it's the end of the world. Same thing happened when the calculator came out, and people are just starting to get used to what it looks like. What is the world like with these spaces, right? With these new technologies. And then as people start to get used to and know how to integrate it into their lives, it just becomes a norm. It becomes a norm. Um, so that's why I genuinely don't think, like, we're in this space where it's like, okay, the end of the world, and, like, everything's only negative, everything's going downstream. I really do feel that there's hope, simply because there's good people that are working toward these problems that aren't just focused only on the tech. And I used to think the same thing before I started to actually be around these people, where I would see, like, that they're, like, using their passion, using their influence, using their, like, network to, like, push for positive change, and help drive forth innovation in a way that works. So,
yeah. And that's why we connected, right, at Davos, like, World Economic Forum. Like, a lot of that was both of us had this shared, like, drive to serve, and be of service to the world and solve whatever problems are out there. And I think when you approach life with that mindset, it's like, all right, I'll use whatever, if I was born 50 years ago, like, or whenever the internet came out, like, I'll use the internet to solve the problem. When now it's like, okay, I'll use what's out there. It happens to be AI. Let's see if we can solve this problem. And really, when we start to reorient to, like, what that, pain point is in the world that we're trying to, like, fix or solve, then AI is just the tool. Like, it's just the means to an end. And it's so much, informed and trained by, like, the humans that are using it. So if we are kind, I feel like sometimes I'll just, like, be so grateful, for my chat. I'll be like, thank you, I appreciate you, and it's like positive reinforcement. Like, it'll respond to me in ways that are kind. So yeah, are there any tools that you use that you would recommend, like, on your day to day? And what are some things that you use AI for? I feel like there's all these different applications that people are tapping into, and it's like by being around people, you can ask them what they're doing, and they'll be like, "Oh, I use Claude Cowork to do this, or I use this to do this." And I'm like, "Oh, I could do that too. Let me try it out."
mhm.
So anything
Yeah,
that
I
you would
mean,
share?
I love some of the AI note takers. They're super helpful. One of my favorite is Granola. Is one that transcribes calls. So one of the things that is possible, instead of having to create notes from a call or handwrite them, remember to follow up to someone, I can actually take that Granola file that came from a note, and then that file itself has like the action items already, and feed that file or the transcript of that file or whatever it might be into a model like ChatGPT that helps me to either generate a draft of an email, or generate like the action item or option that needs to happen. Like, I had a meeting the other day with someone who gave me some feedback on a PowerPoint presentation, and because I had the slide, and I had the feedback from the Granola, just feed them both into the I believe I was using something like GenSpark or something else that like you or changes some of this or makes these adjustments, and then naturally it just saves the time for the task that could have been mindless, or could have been time consuming for me, and then I can just go in and check it and find out, okay, does this make sense? And I think that's the biggest thing for people to understand, is you really have to have that final, like, we're still at the stage where verification is necessary. So it's like, okay, does this make sense before anything leaves my site or my computer or my, I guess, Ethernet ecosystem? And I think that's one of the most valuable ways that I try to use it.
Love it. Okay, now we're coming to the end of this webinar time. I have to ask though, because I think this is so unique, because I think it's not only about the tools, it's also about the mindset shift, right? It's about like seeing the world of opportunity, that we can do anything we set our minds to. And the only thing stopping us sometimes can be our own self limitations, right? And we both kind of subscribe to this. Curious, because you were at Harvard and you were awarded the Resource Maximizer Prize. So can you tell us more about this, especially for people looking for jobs that want to like tap into this way of thinking? Like, what happened? What did you do? How did you win this?
I have no idea. They just sent me an email, and I was like, okay.
No, you
Um,
had to do something. Harvard's got some smart people.
I
So
mean, like, honestly, I think, yeah, it's the like you said, the mindset toward what I have access to, use it to the fullest, right? So it's like, I think there's tons of cool resources in this ecosystem, and tons of cool people, and really just having the mind of how can I give more, and how can I help more, to as many people as I possibly could, kind of showed me more resources. So I talked to this person tells me this exists, access it, and then I understand how I can access it while using that resource. I'm also talking to someone else and finding out, like, okay, like, what does this resource mean for me, and how do I amplify it? So I think it's really just having the mind that, like, it's it's really about like the mindset to make it happen no matter what, and make effort to have that north star always. So I had this north star of where I'm trying to go. I don't know how to get there, and I know I need help, so I need to talk to someone else who may understand how to get there, who can refer me to some resources. If I'm really trying to work toward that north star, I should use that resource and continue to push toward more opportunities that can offer, I guess, attraction and execution toward a goal or a vision. So I guess I don't
cool.
know if that's a question, but I tried.
Appreciate. Well, thank you so much, Tim. I'm so excited for the community of chief of staffs that you're building, to bring all these different leaders into the room that are shaping all aspects of a business, and yeah, to change the game for what the future looks like. I think the economy is going to be driven by people that are like in these positions of power, whether we like it or not. And if we, as people oriented towards service and towards humanity, can be a part of those conversations and in those rooms, and if AI is the you know one language that aligns everyone, because everyone's like, oh, AI, it's all like, and it's very hype right now, and
Mhm.
companies are figuring out how to use it. So if we as Gen Z, or like this group of AI literate people, know how to use it, then all of a sudden, like, we are leveling up to have the authority to speak on these things. So
Yep.
it's unique. And if we're quick learners, then, we can do anything in this new world that we're walking into. So it's a time for massive upskilling. It's going to be important. And I think instead of, a lot of people are like, let's apply to jobs, let's try to figure it out. I think if we like pause, we're like, all right, things are changing. Let's not, run in circles. Let's like focus on building ourselves. Let's grow our skills. Then when the new opportunity emerges, like it will find us because we've built this like niche, very specific knowledge set that is going to be highly useful in this future. And maybe, for those that are skeptical about AI, like maybe that is AI safety, and figuring out how do we set guardrails to make sure that we don't exploit these tools or they don't exploit us. So there's like opportunity even there. But it's kind of, figuring out that path, as we said. Thank you so much, Tim. You rock. Any last
You
words?
you're more amazing. No, I appreciate the opportunity to share some random thoughts that I think about as I go to sleep at night.
Yeah, I
Um,
saw your text message. I'm coming back from Harvard. Here's what I want to say at this live tomorrow. Oh,
yes,
thanks so
yes.
much. You rock. Take care. Have a great day. Thanks everyone for tuning in. And we'll do more of these over the course of the day. If you want to see more from Tim, let us know. If you have any questions for Tim, we can bring those in. We can bring him back on the next live stream and ask him those questions. But have a wonderful day and take care.